Alrighty. Hello. Welcome. First off, let's just I sent a message into the group, I don't know, an hour and a half ago, about kind of reinforcing that, look, hey, we're all one being, we're all one entity. I didn't go into this bit in the group, but let's go into it now. Kind of from an astronomy and astrologic, not an astrology perspective, but from an astronomy perspective, how did our solar system begin? So our solar system began a few billion years ago, but it began after the death of a previous star. So a star existed, huge. It would have been massive, and it would have gone supernova. And then from that, over time, after it went supernova, which means it exploded and all of its materials kind of went all over space, they kind of coalesced and combined into density areas, like areas where gravity kind of formed, and then stuff started coming in, and the sun got created, and the solar system got created. So in essence, everything that makes up you and me, like our physical matter, and that's important for a little bit. Just get onto the right page. Because we all came from the same thing. Okay, we all came from this original supernova star. Okay, all of the atoms that make up you and I, everything we can see, feel, touch, taste, smell, etc., all came from that original kind of explosion of this star on this Earth. Okay, other stuff in the universe comes from other stars exploding and the Big Bang and all this kind of stuff. That's the kind of the theory behind it all, anyway. So we are all one thing. Okay, we're just sections of this star that originally exploded however many billions of years ago, and that star is just part of another prior explosion, okay, or the Big Bang, or whenever it formed prior to that. Okay, so yeah, so we're all one thing. Okay, we're all one thing. So celebrating your wins. Okay, so that's why celebrating wins, and I don't do it very often, but I should probably do it more often and just remind you to share your wins, because a win for one of us is a win for all of us. So if we can kind of get into the feeling of somebody else's win, even if we haven't really had anything particularly big, okay, we all have wins all the time. Okay, breathing, winning. I'm alive, winning. Happy days. That's a win, but that's a pretty ordinary win, because everyone alive right now on this planet is doing that. It just depends on how kind of small you want to go. But there have been some fantastic wins that you've sent me today, and I'll just read a couple out. I won't read the whole gamut of everything, but let's have just a quick look. So a couple of couch to 5K things, okay, despite being kind of under the weather or kind of minor injuries. That's brilliant. Yeah, being consistent, that's really key to anything, really. It's just being consistent with what you're doing. Consistency of thought, okay, is key, okay, because thought and emotion is kind of the things I've moved towards, not necessarily discipline and motivation of, if you want to be fit, go and do the exercise, whatever, but the discipline of thought to go, right, okay, this is what I want to look like, okay, and then when you have that thought over and over and over again and often enough, you'll kind of on autopilot take the right action, and the right action for you is not necessarily the right action for somebody else, but that's kind of where I'm going with that. Again, good stuff going on at work here for Matilda. And we had Sarah's ones a couple of weeks ago, writing her book, kind of interest from a publisher, good stuff going on with work for her as well. And I'm sure there's other bits and bobs going on for other people. Okay, here's a really amazing one. This is one I love, okay, particularly, okay, because it's, I don't remember the last time I got angry, upset at home. Incredible. Okay, home life is so important. It's such a big thing on our lives, and if things aren't going well at home, that affects everything. But if we can get our home life kind of ticking our happy boxes, then that's going to transfer across to work, health, fitness, across everything else. So yeah, a happy home really does make for a much happier life. So what was I saying about matter? Yes, I was saying about all the atoms in the universe. Certainly, let's just pull it down to Earth and our solar system. All of the matter that makes up our solar system came from this original star explosion. That's supposedly how the theory would go. So it brought up an interesting question in my mind. I wrote this down yesterday. I wrote down 3 words. It says make something matter. Okay, so there's kind of 2 meanings of the word matter, to my mind anyway. Okay, I did have a quick look up on the dictionary, and the 2 meanings that I thought of were the first 2 on the list. There might have been others, but I didn't kind of look further down the list. So matter. Okay, so we might use it in a phrase like this matters to me. So losing weight matters to me, being fit and healthy matters to me, having being happy matters to me, etc., etc. Okay, and I've just changed the phrasing a little bit a couple of times just in my notes here. So matter is something that affects me. Okay, so something in my life that matters to me affects me. Okay, and I've also put value. So something that happens in my life that I have assigned value to. So that is important enough for me to care about it. Because there are things in life that might be important to somebody else, but you don't value it. So to you, it doesn't matter. Hey, I'll go look at my daughter about this this morning. Prime example. She has on Fridays, I can't remember what they call it. They can basically bring in a toy to play with for half an hour at the end of the day on a Friday. And she got herself in a real mess about what toy to take, because she wrote a little story and she wanted me to print it out, and I bought a printer, but I haven't set it up yet, and I didn't know that's why she wanted me to set the printer up and print it out, because she wanted to take it into school. This was yesterday and now today. If I'd have known how much it had mattered to her that that's what she wanted, I would have set the printer up, but I couldn't be bothered. I didn't really want to do it. I don't need it, so therefore I didn't do it. And then this morning, she's like, "I've got so many toys, I don't know, I don't know which one to take." She was like, so there was so much choice. She was confused, and that really upset her. And she couldn't just go, "Oh right, okay, I'll just pick that one. It doesn't really matter." Okay, that was mine and Joe's opinion of it. Look, this doesn't matter. Okay, just pick something. Who cares? But to her, it was a big deal. It really mattered. And then, as I've kind of described with the solar system and stuff, okay, there's the other kind of matter, physical things, okay, objects. Hey, my phone, this is made up of different kinds of matter. There's gold in here, plastic, glass, all kinds of different, electronics inside, silicon, etc. Okay, so it's something that has mass, something that you can touch, probably something you can see, because we can only really see physical objects. I don't know whether to include air and gases in there, but they probably count as well as matter. So something that is not energy. And in my looking up, and weirdly on my walk this morning, and I'll explain this a little bit. I had a different thought on my walk this morning. I don't walk every day, but I did today. I was just thinking about the German language and how interesting the German language is, because what they do in German, I'm not particularly a linguist on anything other than English, is that they will bolt words together. So they might have a really, really long word that's actually 4 or 5 words all bolted together, and it has a kind of a new meaning. And when I was looking up on the dictionary about matter, on the right hand side of the screen, Google decided to give me the German translation as well. So it's just funny, this kind of the synchronicity of me thinking how interesting the German language is that they do this. And then I look up the word matter and kind of get a dictionary definition. And then lo and behold, it comes up in German on the side. It could have easily given me French. It could have easily given me Spanish, or another kind of common language, most likely, one of those. you could give me Greek or a Hebrew, because sometimes I look up the words like abracadabra. Okay, very rarely, but I would look up something in Hebrew, because just out of interest, like, what does this word mean? Is this a Hebrew word? How does it translate into English? So let's see if I can screen share something here just to show you. Window Chrome tab. I think it's that one. Yeah. So hopefully you can see this. I don't have anyone here to ask me but so this is the full word. Okay, so there's number 2 is matter in terms of something that has mass, something that you can touch. Okay, and the first one, forgive any pronunciation, I don't know if anyone's any particularly good at German, Angelegenheit. So I'm just going to delete this second one because it's unimportant. It doesn't matter. And we're going to split that. Okay. Let's see if that makes it. Meaning. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Something that affects you, that you give meaning to. Okay. And if I bring that word back together again, is matter, which is quite interesting. Okay. Height also means ness, so effectiveness, something that affects you. Yeah, basically something that affects you. Okay. And that is something that matters. So it is something that affects you. Okay. I just found it very interesting that I was going through this stuff, and that came up. It kind of where am I? I'm lost. I'm on the wrong page here. Where are we? There we go. Okay, I'm back. You might have not lost me, but I lost myself there for a moment. Yes. Now, it's something I've gone over before, and I posted again something I posted yesterday. It's like all these things in the week lead up to me speaking about whatever it is on Friday. It's the two slit method. It's kind of a quantum. It's a physics thing. The two slit experiment, where you have two holes or two slits in a piece of paper or something or whatever, okay, and you fire protons through it. Okay, but when you're looking, it on the detector screen, I'll draw a picture, and I've drawn this. I'm certain I've drawn this for you guys before, but I shall draw again. Let's just do it in that one. Open that. Okay, so we've got some kind of proton gun, okay, over there, and in the middle, yeah, we've got something that's got two gaps in it, like a toaster, okay. And over here we have, I don't know, like a screen, a piece of like a detecting screen or whatever, and we're firing little protons or electrons, or we're firing actually anything through there. It could be anything. So they've done this with the larger particles more recently. So whereas before it was protons, electrons, tiny like hydrogen atoms, okay, which are like the smallest molecule. Originally they were doing it all with that. And when you're looking at it, okay, you get, okay, on the detector paper, you get something that looks like that. It's just kind of fill it in. These are kind of, let's call them bullet holes, okay, where all the little electrons or whatever it is they're firing through the slits hit the detector paper. And when you don't look, you also get a pattern here and a pattern here in the middle. Okay. These have kind of not defined edges, but they're split apart. So forgive, there should be a bit of white space in between the two splodges I've drawn first and the bit in the middle. And you also get some stuff over here. So when you're not looking at something, okay, it has the ability to be something else. So in terms of how to relate this to what I'm talking about, okay, so if I circle it red, okay, when we're looking at something, that means we've labeled it. Okay, let's see if I can make those lines thicker. Okay. I've done that yet. We have labeled something, we have defined something and said, look, it's this, or it's this. Hey, and when we stop looking and we kind of say, look, it's this or this, but it might not be this or this at all. And it could be something else entirely. So we stop looking at it, we stop defining it, we stop labeling it. And then it ends up, it could be this, 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 or it could be that or that or that. Okay, so these are not definite things. And so we don't want to label ourselves with something. As much as we think that might be helpful, it might also not be, because we might be labeling ourselves with something we don't want, something that's incurable, something that's irreversible. So this is where, you know, a diagnosis can be dangerous. Okay? It can be not appropriate. It can be detrimental. That's the word I was looking for, to your progress. Okay? So we want to go, okay, well, what if it's something else? Well, what if it's something else? What if it's nothing at all? What if I'm kind of all making it up? Okay? Kind of, I don't like the term gaslit, because I think it's ridiculous. Because what if it is something else? What if it is in your mind? Wouldn't you rather it be in your mind than something that's unchangeable? If it's in your mind, you can change it. And if it's a label, you go, well, what if it's something else? And what if I am this other thing? So, and that's going to kind of nicely-ish lead me on to my final point. I hadn't kind of planned this to link. Okay, it was kind of two separate things. Close whiteboard, that's what I want. So I hope I'm making sense. I make sense to me, but because I've been talking about this and thinking about this stuff for the best part of 7 or 8 years, it absolutely does make sense to me. But if it doesn't make sense to you, please say what bit doesn't make sense, and I will do my best to change the analogies or get better analogies to make it make sense. There's a story. Let's see if I can add one now. There's a story I've heard, and it's I can't remember exactly what book I've heard it from. It might be in 2 or 3 books that I've read. It's a, I don't know if it's a famous story in particular, but anyway, I'll get on with the story. Is this young kid goes to, he's been to doctors of the time, I think 1930s ish, maybe a bit before, maybe a bit after. He'd been to doctors with this something going on his arm. He had like, it looked like warts, it looked like, I don't know, whatever it was. He had a diagnosis, but it wasn't like a serious diagnosis. It wasn't life-threatening, it wasn't particularly bad, but it was just ugly and maybe a bit painful and not particularly good. Eventually, for some reason, his parents took him to a hypnotist. The hypnotist hypnotized him under the assumption of this kind of fairly not bad diagnosis. And the kind of, I think maybe the next day or within a few days, maybe a week or so, all these warts or whatever it was that was affecting this guy's arm had gone completely. Okay, completely cured. Whatever it was gone. And then the doctors came to the hypnotist and the parents and went, look, we've done some more tests on, we've done biopsies or whatever it was on tissue samples. And turns out it was this really aggressive form of cancer, which certainly at the time was incurable. Whether it's curable now or not, I don't know. But it is gone. Okay? And then the word got out about this hypnotist having kind of cured this cancer on this kid, and people with the same kind of cancer came to see this hypnotist. But now the hypnotist had in his mind is like, well, I can't treat cancer, so he then couldn't repeat the same thing. And if we look back at the 2-slit experiment, the little diagram I drew, okay, the hypnotist had then defined, it's like, this is cancer, I cannot cure cancer. Okay? But when it was a kind of a relatively minor physical ailment, the hypnotist could do it, okay, even though it was a cancer in the end. Okay, he found out later. So it's kind of like, well, it worked because he had the belief that he could cure a simple thing, but he didn't have the belief he could cure a life-threatening disease. Uh, because we pigeonholed it into this, we defined it and go, right, it's this. Okay? But if we undefine it and say, look, maybe it's that, maybe it's that, maybe it's that, maybe it's that, some other method could work. Okay? And it's a question of belief. It's a question of thought. So yeah, this might be helpful to go along with some of the other tips and tricks I've given you on putting yourself into a future where you've already achieved what you want and kind of bringing that feeling into now. And it's a really simple phrase. It's like, I remember when. Okay? I remember when I used to find it so hard to lose weight, okay, and achieve the perfect body. But now it's really easy. Okay. I can't believe I spent so many years and so much money getting supplements and diets and trainers and help, and I couldn't do it. All of a sudden, for some reason, overnight, it just happened. Okay, I remember when I went from however many stone to the weight that I wanted. I remember when I got so many job opportunities, I didn't know what to do with them. Okay, I remember when I sold that house and I made loads of money, and I got really good tenants in my house, and they were there for years. Okay, I remember when my son, daughter, children, whatever, got their A levels and they got amazing results. I remember when my kids got their degrees or their first job and they loved it and they were having such a great time. I remember when my kids bought their first house, and I was there to help them move in and whatever. I don't know. Whatever your goals are. I remember when I didn't have any diagnoses anymore and I was completely healthy. The doctor said, I remember when the doctor said to me, "There's nothing wrong with you," and I knew he was right, or she. Okay. So it's just a simple phrase to help put you in the feeling of having already achieved the goal. Having already achieved the goal. I remember when I opened the doors to my facility. Okay, I remember when I did that. Feels good. Okay, feels good. Okay, so okay. I'm just looking through some of the other notes I made last night. I wrote down a few things. I was on a call with somebody. Yeah, I've kind of already covered this one. It is right back at the beginning. If something is happening for one, it's happening for all. If one person is feeling better from whatever I do here, you all are, because we're all one thing. Okay, so helping one person sends out a ripple effect to the rest of humanity. Basically everyone gets just a fraction better. So it's just like every day, just try and do a small thing either for yourself to make you feel better, whether that's meditation, cold showers, hot showers, having a shower at all, being grateful, going out for a walk, going to the gym, eating good food, eating bad food, okay, giving someone a hug. Okay, do something for yourself or somebody every day, at least one, okay, and that will have a net positive effect on the world. Okay, however small, it doesn't matter. So yeah, there's that. And I think I will come to that. I'm going to circle that one. I'm going to have some more thoughts on this one over, I don't know, the coming days, coming weeks. I'll mention it now, but I'm not ready to talk about it any further than this. Okay, so the ego and the shadow are man-made constructs. There is no ego and there is no shadow. So Freudian kind of psychology was like, yes, we've got the kind of the ego who kind of preventing us from doing the things we need to do, and the shadow is getting kind of similar kind of thing. So the Jungian and shadow work and Freudian ego is kind of they're man-made constructs. Okay, so they existed before Freud and Jung. Maybe people just had different words for them, different ways of thinking about them. the devil and the angel on your shoulder kind of thing. The ego is the ego and the shadow of the devil's on your shoulder telling you not to do something, or to do something bad, to do something not that doesn't serve you. But yeah, basically, if we deny its existence, okay, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so that's maybe thoughts for another day. As I said, yeah, I'm not ready to expand on just yet. So I'm going to dive now into treatment. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much for listening. I would love comments, more wins. Always love to hear your wins, no matter how big or small. You got up out of bed and went for a walk. You had a shower. If you were having a particularly bad day, that's great. That's still a win. Okay, and just a reminder, yeah, that nothing is good or bad. We just don't know. We just don't know what is good or bad. So yeah, wins. I want to hear wins. And have a great weekend, depending on when you're watching this. Obviously, have a great week if you're watching this on like a Sunday afternoon. Cheerio. Bye bye.